What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, I got a fascinating news article. Like, the DNC is crashing and burning right now, as a matter of fact. But I got a clip I want to show you guys. We're going to get into a little bit of freedom of speech right fast because, yeah, you know, conservatives, a lot of these people, you know, even libertarians, they're always yelling about, you know, freedom of speech is under assault constantly. And, hey, you know, there are avenues where we can see this is taking place. However, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, they try to use the, you can't yell in a crowded theater. Well, you can. You can, absolutely. Especially if there's a fire. You can definitely do that. You can say these things. You can do and get away with a lot in America. But we see, like in Europe, freedom of speech is being curtailed like you wouldn't believe. And, you know, it's not one of those things that just happens overnight. Right? We already have restricted speech. He's talking about, you know, now they want to codify hate speech, which can't be defined, right? But, you know, when you cross a line into violence and threats of violence at this point, you know, with words, that's breaking the law. So our freedom of speech is not absolute. Most definitely not absolute. But the left, they're constantly coming for freedom of speech. And, you know, don't let anybody fool you, because they'll get out there and say, no, we respect freedom of speech. They'll lie to your face constantly. But once again, this is a slow game. They do it increments at a time, step by step by step by step. And, you know, with people like the mainstream news, oh, man, they just love to just throw these things in there just to catch you off guard, if you will. Check this out, y'all.
I don't know why anybody would be upset about it. People are allowed, you know, you don't have to agree with someone's speech. I happen to agree with a lot of what he said, but you don't have to agree with someone's speech to at least appreciate the fact they have a right to say it, and that you should listen to it and see whether those criticisms are valid. I assure you, the United States has come under withering criticism on many occasions from many leaders in Europe, and we don't go around throwing temper tantrums about it.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany.
And that right there is how it starts, folks. You know, once you get Hitler into the mix, oh, we can justify just about anything, right? That's always the quandary of would you kill a baby Hitler type of thing, right? Like murder is bad, of course, obviously, right? But come on, it's going to be Hitler one day. We know there's going to be a lot of Jews killed. Would you do it type of thing, right? It's a philosophical question, if you will. Would you do this to protect lives? Right, so this is the impetus for all of this. They try to use this, like, this is just nuts in my opinion. She's actually trying to use freedom of speech was weaponized to commit a genocide. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, get out of here with this argument. That is absolute nonsense. It kind of doesn't deserve a response. But because there's so many people out there that would just listen to this and nod right along, yeah, we're going to respond to it. It's utter ridiculousness, right? Like Marco Rubio said, that was an authoritarian, a totalitarian dictator, if you will, just ideologically driven to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. Freedom of speech had nothing to do with this. You think you had freedom of speech in 1930s Germany? Do you think we could get out there and criticize Hitler after he came to power? Do you think you could really do that and get away with it? Like, no, we of course, we don't really know what it was like on the ground, but we've heard a lot of stories. And, you know, stories get amplified over time, and they play the game of telephone. And so it's hard to believe the historical record of what actually went on sometimes because, like I said, humans are not perfect. We make mistakes, right? But to use freedom of speech in this manner, it's absolutely disgusting. It really is. And this is coming from the mainstream news, folks. These are supposed to be defenders of freedom of speech, the bastion of freedom of the press, right? They're supposed to hold the government to account. And now they're actually advocating to curtail freedom of speech and use the excuse, oh, well, you know, freedom of speech was used to conduct a genocide. It's like, get out of here, right? Like, but this is how it happens. When we hear these things, we need to speak out strongly against them. Like, really, ridicule this person into oblivion, if you will, because that's how these things get started. Starts with a slow roll, and then other people pick up that argument. Next thing you know, you wake up one day with the police at your door, and you're getting arrested because of some post you made online criticizing your neighbor or something like that, like what's going on in the UK. You can get arrested for your posts online. That's absurd. It's outright absurd. Has nothing to do with threats of violence or anything like that. It's insane what's going on over there. There's viral video after viral video of people getting arrested for speech. It's absurd. But like I said, y'all, I got a news article I want to get into. The DNC is, they are just 0 for 10 at this point, y'all. Check this out. David Hogg under fire from fellow Democrats for using DNC contact lists to fundraise for personal PAC. That is right. So we just had the vice chair come into the DNC, and immediately he kicks in the door, goes to their contact list, grabs it, and calls all these people and says, you know, stop sending money to the DNC. Send it to this PAC instead, which he is employed by and he is making money off of, obviously. Like, if it wasn't already apparent by what they did with Kamala Harris in this past presidential campaign, it's like, yeah, the elites run the show. The voters have no say at this point. So it's like you're still going to continue along these lines of authoritarian dictatorship type of thing going on here because, you know, the voters didn't get to choose. They held on to Joe Biden for so long before they decided, oh, well, let's kick him out. And it wasn't the people, because the people voted for Joe Biden. And I wonder why that is. Oh, because he's the candidate. He's the only one that can beat Trump, overlooking several other candidates that actually ran. Cenk Uygur was one of them. Now I can understand Cenk Uygur's not that popular of a person. You know, he's known to political, you know, in the political world, he's well known, but outside of that, he's not. But it's like, are y'all going to continue with this line of thinking? Like, you can obviously see it's not winning. You have no power right now. I just saw another headline. I think it was Cory Booker on CNN talking about we actually can't do anything right now. There's no mechanisms by which we can stop Donald Trump. That's essentially what it said. It was hilarious. And I'm like, yes, there is nothing you can do because the American people finally woke up and saw the writing on the wall, what was going on with the DNC, what's going on with the Democratic Party, and what is going on with the establishment in this country, because that's what the DNC represents. And people are tired of it. People are sick of it. And more actions like this. Yes, let me take money from you. I'm already rich. I've got a lot of power, right? I'm going to take more of your money. It's absurd, y'all, and people are seeing this. It's being plastered all over the place. Let's get into this thing before I rant on forever, y'all. David Hogg, recently appointed as vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee, is facing criticism from within his own party for allegedly using DNC resources to solicit donations for his personal political action committee. The practice, while not against the rules, is being frowned upon by his critics within the party. According to a report by the New York Post, Hogg has sent fundraising messages to DNC contact lists directing recipients to donate to his PAC, from which he reportedly earns over $100,000 per year. One of the 8 messages sent to the DNC database read, "David Hogg here. I was just elected DNC vice chair. This is a huge win for our movement to make the Democratic Party more reflective of our base, youthful, energetic, and ready to win." And he should have added on there, ready to take your money. Like, I'm sorry, that is nothing of what the Democratic base is at this point. They might be energetic, but they're not youthful at this point, and they're definitely not ready to win. Maybe the base is, right? you could say that about the base, but you can't say that about the leadership, because they just keep making bonehead maneuver after bonehead maneuver after bonehead maneuver. They keep losing and losing and losing because they live in a delusional dream world where they think, everybody agrees that trans rights should be above everybody else. And, yes, your 15-year-old boy should be able to play soccer with your 15-year-old girl. Like, no, people don't think this way. They think that's absurd. Right? They also, a lot of people get turned off when, you have a Democratic politician come up on television or something and tell you, have you thought about getting an abortion lately? When we're suffering a replacement crisis in this country. It's absurd. And, it's things like that that just turn people off to the Democratic Party at this point, right? The Democratic Party used to have a lot more respect than it does now. They've gone Looney Tunes at this point. There's a lot of corruption. It's pretty much the establishment at this point, because that's all it is establishment politicians. There's hardly any grassroots politicians in the Democratic Party these days. They're out there, though. They're out there. Ro Khanna is one example. The dude, he's genuine with his thoughts, right? And he's reasonable. And, he doesn't push for all this nonsense. And he sees there's certain lines you can't cross. That we have a moral base in this country that derives essentially from Judeo-Christian values. Like, anybody that tries to tell you that our moral structure in this country does not come from Christian values, from the Bible, they just don't know their history. They don't know the makeup of the Constitution. They don't know the setup of this country. It was deeply Christian, deeply religious when we founded this nation. Right, and it's been that way for a very long time. It's only recent history that we've started moving away from religion, started going more secular. And I think that's a bad direction to go, y'all. I know, separation of church and state and all that good stuff, but that doesn't mean you separate church from your life, right? We've gotten away from religion. That gives us a good moral structure to abide by in our daily lives, if you will. We've got crime running rampant, that there's degeneracy all over the place. It is hard. It is really hard for a good Christian person to not get blasted in the face with degenerate nonsense that comes from, culture these days. It's absurd, especially Hollywood culture, right? Like, that's just insane. When you see some of these satanic music concerts and these performances, and it's like they're pretending to be the devil and demons and all this other stuff, it's a really big turnoff. Really, really big turnoff. But I know, religion ain't for everybody. Some people don't want to buy into that. But, I would push people towards religion because, it does something much deeper than, just give you a moral value system to live your life from, right? Like, it gives you purpose, it gives you drive, it gives you something to live up to, in other words, right? It gives you push, gives you motivation to get up every day and go do your best and get out there. It's something we've gotten away from recently, and I think that's a very bad message, y'all. The text includes a link to Hogg's Leaders We Deserve PAC. Oh, Lord. The move has sparked backlash among some party officials. One top Democrat reportedly told the New York Post, David Hogg, talk about living up to your name. A trough of DNC dollars, all for him, and he doesn't seem to give an oink. Hogg co-founded Leaders We Deserve in August 2023, which the stated goal of electing young progressive candidates. Since then, he has personally earned more than $175,000 from the PAC. While his fundraising tactics don't violate official DNC rules, some officials claim it's an ethical issue. Yeah, it's most definitely an ethical issue. You're taking money away from the DNC. You're going after these donors that, they're on the DNC call list. You're taking them away, trying to remove them from the DNC call list, and essentially either that or get them to donate to both platforms, which, yeah, it's highly unethical. All right, well, like, stuff like this should be illegal, to be honest with you, because That's underhanded as hell. You're going to go in and you're going to cut the legs out from underneath your own party? Come on, man. Come on. I mean, we've already got that huge scandal with Act Blue, where there's significant evidence of money laundering going on through Act Blue, right? With, what's his name? James O'Keefe Media Group, or OMG, if you will, doing all these door-to-door, on-the-ground investigative reports, looking up at all these donations that were given out by people, or supposedly given out by people. Then he goes to their door and asks these people, hey, have you donated to Act Blue 5 times today? And the day before that, and the day before that, sometimes upwards of thousands of times per year, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And a lot of these people, they're kind of broke. Some of them living on Social Security. It's like, no, they can't. There's no way they can donate that much money. And most of these people, when asked, they're like, no, I've donated $5-10 in the past, but that's it. So there's an investigation still going on, and I would love to get to the bottom of that. I can't wait until that investigation is done, because I want to see where a lot of that money was coming from, exactly what they were doing with a lot of that money, because that's a lot of payments at $5 and $10. Like, who in their right mind would donate to Act Blue 5 to 10 times a day at just $5 to $10 per donation? Like, why would you donate $5 5 times a day? That makes no sense, right? So there's a lot of questions we have going on here. And then this guy wants to come in and get the call list, start calling these people trying to get these people to send him money as well. It's like, is the Democratic Party, like, essentially the corporate Democrat Party, just a money laundering scheme? Like, or is it just a Ponzi scheme at this point? Sure seems that way, don't it? It's especially important for all Democratic national officials to focus on raising support for the party and not using their position to raise money for themselves or their personal political PACs. Another senior Democratic Party official said, "It's a stunning lack of judgment that is concerning to many people." The 24-year-old who was appointed as the party's vice chair less than 2 weeks ago, David Hogg, gained national attention for his activism against gun rights following the 2018 mass shooting at majority Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Hogg was a student at the school. He has also been a vocal advocate for radical left-wing initiatives such as defunding the police and abolishing the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. I mean, it's just very frustrating to be in a party in desperate need of increased accountability for our struggling leadership and watch someone who has never held accountable ascend, who has never been held accountable. There must have been a typo. Yeah. Ascend to leadership, said Cameron Kasky, who was also a Stoneman Douglas survivor. Hogg responded to the report by saying he was not doing any interviews. Per the New York Post, a spokesperson later commented, "David has already raised the money for the DNC since becoming vice chair and many times before." Oh my goodness. So now he doesn't want to talk to reporters. You're going to go ahead and steal their money, and then you're going to be like, nope, no interviews whatsoever going on over here, folks. We're not talking to you guys. This is absurd, y'all. Like, I totally understand. I'm not trying to just completely rag on the Democratic Party at this point, but their actions do deserve it. Now, I will say, there's a lot of this nonsense that goes on in the Republican Party as well. Not to leave them out of things. We're trying to be inclusive around here, if you will. But, the Republican Party, at least, we don't have a vice chair that's going to go in and cut the legs out from underneath, right? We've got some decent people in the Republican Party. We've swept out the old at this point, and we've brought in some good people. Now, it remains to be seen if they'll stay that way, right? Because that's how it is. It's like these people, they get to Congress, they're for the first time, and they're full of ideas and piss and vinegar and all that jazz, right? And they get up there and they're like, I'm going to make some change. I'm going to come in and I'm going to single-handedly clean up Congress. They're thinking that in their head. And then they get blasted with all these staffers saying, well, you got to go meet this lobbyist and fundraise for this PAC over here. Then you got to go over here and do this and raise money for this charity. Then you got to go this time and raise money for this. And they're going to come over here and lobby you for this for a little while. And then you got another meeting for another lobby. And it's like, is that all these people do, is just lobby and do some fundraising around here? That's what it seems like. And they get caught up in that mix, and they see this money just going all over the place. Hundreds of millions of dollars just going here and going there. And they're kind of the intermediary to an extent, right? And so they get caught up in that. And humans, we're definitely not perfect, right? And they get caught up in that, and they start taking money from this, and they just stop caring about Congress. That's why I always say, they stop caring about doing the right thing for the country. I say this a lot, y'all. We need to get the lobby interests, the corporate lobby interests, out of Washington, D.C., away from Congress. These people should not be allowed to lobby Congress. Corporations should not be allowed to lobby Congress at this point, because they have taken a system that was set up to hear the voice of the people, right? Sending a letter to your congressman is lobbying your congressman. But at this point, it has become a political weapon that is being used against the American people. This is how we get, that's an argument about, with all this USAID stuff going on, one of these arguments they hear, kind of ancillary argument, is people like, well, we have a system, we have mechanisms in place to do this. The inspector generals are supposed to take care of waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, you know what? They're not doing their damn job at this point. They're mad at Elon Musk for doing this, but it's like, just stop right there. Because that's Congress's job. They have to approve all the money that is spent by the federal government. All 435 congressmen get a chance to vote on that. And if you get just a simple majority, it goes through. Then it's got to go to the Senate. And so, you got 535 people that decide where the money goes, essentially. And so if they wanted to, if they felt like, hang on, okay, so we're wasting money on all these nonsense programs, Congress could have done what Elon Musk is doing at any point over the past, I don't know, let's just throw out a number there, 200 years. They could have done that at any point. Let's take a look at the line-by-line items over here and see exactly what we're spending this money on. They could do that. They could have absolutely created a department to do that. They could have created a committee, just a simple congressional committee to do exactly what Elon Musk is doing right now. But they don't, because they're too worried. They're too busy with fundraising and getting lobbied and getting bribed by lobbyists to care about the American people. Right? That's not all of them. But most of them are like that. And that's why I say we've cleaned the Republican Party out, y'all. We've gotten a lot of those people out of there. But I still think we need to take that further step and just bar the lobby interests. But, Congress has to be the one to do this. So do we think that'll ever get done? I highly doubt it. But that would fix a lot of the corruption problems, a lot of the waste, fraud, and abuse going on in our federal government, if we could get some Congress people that actually care. That's all we need. Some people that actually care. We've got the Freedom Caucus. That's a start. That's all the congressmen that I think are pretty good are members of the Freedom Caucus. But I don't agree with all Freedom Caucus members, right? Like I said, there's only about 10 or so congressional people that are actually pretty good, that actually care. They seem to care. They still do the fundraising and all that other stuff. But like Chip Roy, he gets out on the floor and rails against this nonsense spending all the time. But nobody ever listens to him because they don't ever do a damn thing about any of this. It's all theater at this point. But I think I've rambled on for long enough, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. This blows my mind, y'all. Blows my freaking mind. This dude's going to come in, be put as vice chair of the DNC, and then take their call list, their funders list, and say, and call them up, hey, look, y'all need to start sending money to me instead of to the DNC. Yeah, like that's going to be viewed upon well, my guy. But that is just shows what the Democratic Party has become at this point. And most Democrats, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to see it. They want, eyes closed and mouth shut and ears off at this point. They just don't want to know at all, it seems like, because they'll get out there and make up all the excuses in the world as to why. This is legit. Yep. Honestly, but it blows my mind. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here and you like staying up to date with how you're being manipulated by the corporate press, because that's what I do. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.